Well, aren't you a regular Nancy Drew?
I learned that from the Nancy Drew detective.
Okay, go.
You think you can follow the clues and solve the case of the missing condiment, Nancy Drew?
Because I've read every Nancy Drew mystery ever written.
Nancy, please tell me you're joking.
Wow, you suck at this Nancy Drew stuff. You should get a new hobby.
My name is Carson Drew, and this is my assistant, Nancy.
Nancy Drew.
It's curtains for you, Miss Drew.
Nancy Drew strikes again.
A regular Nancy Drew.
Hello, regular Drews.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to episode 90.
90 episodes.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot. We're getting close. We're getting close to 100. It'll be another, I guess, 6 months probably, but...
Yes. Not quite, but four.
Four.
That'll be our Christmas episode. Yeah.
Well, no, because we do 2 episodes a month.
Math is hard. I think episode 100 is supposed to come out like the week before Christmas or something like that. Maybe.
You know what? I have the calendar up. I can just look. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. So I guess that is like in 5 months.
So 2.5 episodes-ish a month.
Right. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish.
Oh my God.
Well, and this won't be out until August, technically, this episode
right.
won't. So
yeah.
I'm getting myself.
Do we know how our episode structure works? Can we count? No. Regular Drews, no.
I don't know.
We can't. So we've only been doing this for 4 years. 3 years. I don't know. I don't know time. I don't
We've done 3 years already.
Numbers.
We're on year number 4.
Yes.
So 4 years.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for making me feel validated in saying that. Feels like forever. And also like no time has passed.
Right.
Somehow both of those things are true.
Yes.
Anyway, we're here today to talk about the original Secrets Can Kill.
Yes.
I'm so excited. This is the very first Nancy Drew PC game ever made?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I was going to say made by Her Interactive, but ever made. It's the first one ever.
Yep.
And of course, yes, the first Nancy Drew game made by Her Interactive. So yeah, we're very excited. Of course, this holds a lot of nostalgia for us. It was originally released in November of 1998.
Crazy. And it shows for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old game. It's old.
Yes.
But, you know, so old, I do have to admit, regular Drews, that I actually wasn't able to install it on my computer. Did not work. Yes, I had to watch a playthrough. So, whose did I watch? Arglethumps. Yes, Arglethumps. So, thank you, Michael, for that. You did record it 15 years ago, but guess what? I'm still watching. So thank you very much for your dedication. Cause yeah, I tried really hard, but for whatever reason, I even followed the instructions and everything online, and my computer just would not boot the setup. So sad day, but I did watch it all, and I have played it before regular Drew, so this will be like a combination of my recollections of actually playing it and watching it this time. So
I did play the actual game itself, but I feel like that's a complaint for a lot of people these days, is it just does not work on computers anymore, which is a shame. Eventually, probably nobody will be able to play it. There is a remastered version, which we're not going to really talk about in this one. It's got a few differences, but I did almost have to go back and read the book for this episode as well, which I'm really glad that we covered the book previously before playing this game, because it's so much better. Or, I mean, I think it's so much... No, not that the book is so much, just it's so much better to talk about it in the context of it being adapted from the book. I mean...
The book is, of course, better because it's a book.
The book's wonderful.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I can understand what you're saying.
I actually ended up going back and listening to our episode on the book because I didn't want to have to take the time to reread it. And I was like, oh yeah, I could just listen to that in like an hour and have pretty much the same thing.
That's perfect.
Because we did that about a year ago. And we did give that 5 flashlights. So I'm interested to see how this one will rate.
Oh, okay.
We might even have to, what is it called in sports? Like a handicap where you give them like a little bit of extra. Just because it's so old, I feel like it deserves like a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Help just because of that, you know?
That's the thing is because I feel like objectively, especially stacked up against, of course, all of the other games, this is not a good game. You know what I mean? But like nostalgically, it's so lovely. And also like as an adaptation, really good.
Oh yeah.
And like as a video game of its time, pretty good.
They had to start somewhere. I mean, they had to start somewhere. And as it goes, this has a ton of details from the original story crammed into it. So I do think it was successful in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And like considering how like when you look at it as like the first one, you can really see the building blocks of how they got where they did. And so like for that, like understanding it for like what it is, it's like it's pretty good. But like, you know, do I enjoy it this time? Not so much, you know. But that's okay. It was meant for 1998 and it lived in 1998 and that's where it'll live in my mind.
And it was pretty successful, I want to say, for the time, for 1998, for something that they were literally only selling by phone. Guys, if you wanted to buy this game in 1998, you had to find a landline, pick it up, hold that thing up to your ear, and press some physical buttons.
That's wild.
And then talk to someone in Seattle and say, hello, I'd like a Secrets Can Kill, please. And then they ship you a box with the game in it. That's how you would go about getting this game back in 1998. Because you found their phone number in a catalog or something like that. Probably the Scholastic catalog or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
They probably weren't in the Scholastic catalog back in 1998.
Do you remember the
way too early.
Catalogs? Oh my god. Oh wow. Yeah.
But yeah.
Throwback.
Yeah. It wasn't until a few years later that they even started selling like on Amazon and stuff like that. So for it to be that successful and that be how they sold the copies, I think that that's pretty impressive.
Definitely so impressive. And again, considering like their future success, like it had to be successful in order for them to keep going. Right. But that's what I was going to say is I was going to really recommend people listen to our episode on the history of Her Interactive because we really talk through kind of the development and initial release of this game. And so just to like learn that, I think might be good information to know when you play this game and when you think about this game when you listen to this episode. So what episode number was that?
I want to say 30.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. How did you just pull that out of your head? That's wild, Kori.
It's every 25th one for the history one. So 5, 30, 55, 80.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of those.
Yeah.
But speaking of the history of it, this was not Her Interactive's first game. It was, of course, the first ever Nancy Drew game, but they had 2 previous games before this. One was Mackenzie and Co., and then the second one was the Vampire Diaries, both of which they do reference in this game, which is pretty cool.
I just think it's hilarious in my mind. It just does not make sense in my mind that a Vampire Diaries game came out before a Nancy Drew game.
Right.
Even though, like, I know, like, conceptually, I know that these games were made in the 90s, and so I guess the Vampire Diaries series must have existed in the 90s, but in my mind, I don't connect that to anything but the TV show. And
so
the
books existed first,
right?
And then the game, and then the TV show came after. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Yes, but like in my mind, like culturally trying to conceive that a game about the Vampire Diaries would come before a game about Nancy Drew. It just makes my head kind of explode a little bit.
Honestly, it may just be the licensing. It was probably easier for them to, with what little reputation they had to get a Vampire Diaries license. And then they were able to say like, oh, look, we did well with this. Simon & Schuster, please give us Nancy Drew now that we've shown that we can handle it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Do you know, okay, this is totally off topic and like totally unrelated, but what I wouldn't give to play a modern version of a Vampire Diaries game.
Oh my gosh. It'd be so fun.
Oh, that that would be amazing. I don't even know what the gameplay would be like.
Oh gosh,
but I bet it would be great. I bet you'd have to go around and talk to so many people and drive like Elena's car around, and that would just be so funny to me.
I have watched a playthrough of the Vampire Diaries game, but yeah, it's even rougher than Secrets Can Kill, definitely.
Of course, right.
You can definitely see where they improved upon that to make Secrets Can Kill for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, speaking of the history, we should talk about Mildred Wirt Benson's article about this game.
Oh,
because she, of course, was a journalist for the Toledo Blade newspaper at the time that this came out and got to review the game in her column, which is really cool.
Yeah, you saved that somewhere, didn't you?
I have it on the drive. And thank you so much to Charity, one of our listeners who was able to find that article and send it to us because it is so interesting. Maybe we'll read it at the end or something.
Yeah, and post it on Instagram or something because it's super cool, super sweet. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Cool. So much history, you guys. There's just so much about this. It's just so... It's so like widespread and like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like it just connects to everything, you know? Like maybe. Yeah. That sounds good. Let's go with that.
Okay.
just touches everything. So it's just so cool to think about. Oh, anyway. But okay, something else I wanted to talk about in relation to this game is, and this is like a shift that I think that Her Interactive made after this game, and so it really stands out in Secrets Can Kill, is the music. Can we talk about the music? Yeah. Because it goes so hard. Like, so hard. And I don't know whose idea this was, but is it like louder in this game or something? Because it seems louder than usual.
The sound design definitely changed for later games because I feel like, when you enter a room, it's like a lot more jarring. Is that the word?
Intense.
When it's just like sudden change and it's really loud and out of nowhere.
Well, the library, going into the library in particular, I remember when I was a kid, I was so terrified of the library. And watching this playthrough now, I realize that what it is the music. It's the music that makes it so scary in there because nothing happens in the library. I mean, you just look around. Arguably nothing happens at all in the game, but nothing happens in the library in particular. But I remember being so scared while I was in there, and it's 100% because of the music. They change it into like this. I don't know, like the beat of it is so heavy and like so synth. It's like I'm so scared that something is going to come around the corner at me or like look at me through the shelves. Like that's always what I thought was going to happen. I was going to see someone on the other side of the bookshelves. And so, but like, it's like that kind of like all across, like, well, first of all, the music is very 1990s, like kind of like light hip hoppy, but like electronic sounding. So like, I love that. I think it's it fits very well in the game, but it creates such an atmosphere that like, I do think in general, like, I think here's what I'm trying to say. I think that is a big shift from their later sound design. In this one, it was less about creating an atmosphere and an ambiance and more about creating suspense.
Yes.
Whereas in later games, they're trying to make you feel like you're in that space and that location in their sound design. So like, you know, with like environmental noises like car horns and birds chirping and stuff that. Whereas they don't do any of that in this game. It's really just the music.
Right.
And so it's just a really interesting shift. But I think it was monumentally successful in this game. I think honestly the music is one of the things that I think about the most when I think about this game. And it's interesting to me how like they made the decision to make something that was so successful different, just because they were trying to create a more immersive experience for the player. So I just think that's cool. I just think that's cool and interesting.
And it was Kevin Manthe who did the music for this one. He put his back into it. He worked so hard on this, and you can tell it turned out really well. And speaking of the music, the lost rap song, like a bullet from a gun. She arrives on the scene. A young detective who doesn't know the meaning of fear.
Okay, if you don't know what we're talking about, go look up on YouTube Nancy Drew rap maybe Kevin Manthe. I don't know, whatever it is you need to search to find that.
You'll find it. It will come up.
You'll find it. You need to listen to that ASAP because it's the most hilarious thing you'll have ever heard. And when you play Secrets Can Kill, it's not in there. This was cut from the game, but
it
on
is
the
in
credits,
the credits. Yeah, it's just
you can hear
the instrumental. Yeah,
yes.
It's so good though.
But so sad. I wish so badly that was still in there because even though I mean, like, if I were making the game back in 1998, I definitely would not have put it in there because I'm like, no, that's too goofy. Let's not do that. I wish so much that it was in there because it would make it so much more iconic today, like looking back on it, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I love it so much. Thank you, Kevin Manthe, for that gem. The gem.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I know Hugh Miller interviewed Kevin Manthe on his podcast a little while ago, and they talk about the rap and how he and his buddy just wrote that themselves and performed it themselves. And
I need to listen to that.
No other Nancy Drew songs really have words in them except for like maybe a couple one-offs like Brigitte's song.
Right.
And One in Sea of Darkness. But otherwise, like, there's not really lyrics to the music, but they're like, no, we need to start off on a high note. And then they just didn't use it, which is a shame. But
yeah.
Oh, well. But yeah, definitely go listen to that because it's very interesting.
It's still a fan favorite, you know. We still all know about it. So
as it should be.
speaks to how great it was that a song that was cut from a game, never put anywhere in the series. We all know, and we all
know the words and like
about. Yes.
It is on Her Interactive did post it on their official YouTube channel, so you can find it there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So funny.
Something else I think we need to talk about is just like the change in graphics here, because I mean, like, of course, this is in 1998, right? But specifically the character art design, that's probably one of the biggest changes that they made in this game versus, you know, all of their other games, is that the characters in this game are not CGI characters. They're not computer generated. They are actually illustrations. So that's probably the biggest difference. But honestly, I like them. I think they did a great job, and I think it's really effective. And I think it, honestly, it kind of looks better than some of the CGI that they do later, especially in the next one. Of course, it's not that good in Stay Tuned for Danger, you know. So, of course, it gets a lot better. And by the time you get to Sea of Darkness, it's amazing. But I think that the hand-drawn illustration of the characters, even though they stand out against the backdrop, because the backdrop is CGI,
right?
It's really, I think it looks really cool and really interesting, and I think it gives the characters a lot more depth, even though, like, because you're able to see more of their facial expressions, like, it's more effective to illustrate them that way at this time than doing CGI later, which can make the facial expression seem weird, and, you know, trying to make them talk doesn't match all the time. But so, yeah.
They don't look that great in the remastered one. I'm sorry, Daryl looks creepy in the remastered. And this, at least, he's just a cartoon, you know? Right. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Like, you can see in the cartoon how he's supposed to be cute and have like the dimple and all of that stuff. Yeah. Whereas like in the remastered, it's a little bit like
Uncanny Valley. Like, oh,
yeah. So I think that's a good choice. Of course, it does look like 1998, but I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? 3 words. This one's hard. Because I feel like not a lot happens in the game.
No, it's really not. It is very short. I'll say I finished in like an hour. Yeah. Actually, no, the game did crash on me, so I had to restart over. So it took me like an hour and a half, but that's even with like replaying the first half of the game twice. So it really does not take that long. And that was me trying to look at everything in the game. So
yeah. I think the thing that stands out the most to me about this game is probably just like this concept of like college pressure.
Okay.
Or like, you know, like late high school, senior year kind of pressures. because really that's what's affecting everyone, and that's what a lot of the game ends up being about, is just like the characters' stress.
Yeah, very strenuous.
All of them. It's very stressful for everyone just because of college, really.
College
and
stress.
Money.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like it. College stress.
Mm-hmm. I do think a lot of it is, it's just so 1990s. It's so 90s. The payphones.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
The payphones and the card catalogs and
the fact that hamburgers are $1.99 at magazines.
Yes, yeah. You can get coffee for 60 cents, I think, or something. Yeah. It's on the menu. Like,
there is a poster in the back room of the kitchen. Minimum wage is $5.15.
Oh my gosh!
Like, wow.
So 90s,
90s, yes.
90s economy. Maybe we should specifically say
90s economy.
90s economy. 90s economy, college stress, and then like gossip, or he said, she said, or
basically
drugs.
All you can do is talk to people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drama that goes into this that feels like it's directly from the files, injected straight in from the heart of the files.
Yeah, I like drama. Let's go with drama. Let's go with drama.
College pressure, drama, and 90s economy. Yes, okay.
That's accurate. That feels really right. Yes.
Perfect. I love it.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So before we get into the content of the game, we'll just talk a little bit about the gameplay in this one. We do start off strong. We already have our stacked books menu, which honestly I forgot about, that we really do start that at the very beginning, but we do. This one you actually have a choice of junior, senior, or master detective, which they did do away with in the next one, I believe, with just junior, choice of junior and senior. The navigation in this game is, of course, because it is the first one, it's much different than the other games. Of course, it's very clunky.
Yes.
But mostly you just have the magnifying glass cursor in this one instead of just like the golden pointer cursor that you usually have in the other ones. And it just lights up different colors to kind of indicate like turning, or what you can like click on to look closer at things, stuff like that. Also, yes, it does come on 2 different discs, and throughout the game, you have to switch discs based on the location that you were in. So it's not like the first half of the game is on disc 1 and the second half of the game is on disc 2. The high school is on disc 2, and everything else is on disc 1.
Except the boiler room. Right. Which is in the high school, but it's on disc 1.
Exactly.
So if you want to go back up the elevators, you have to switch discs. And then to leave the high school, you have to switch discs again. Yeah, it can get pretty old.
Yes. Pretty annoying. But interesting that that's how they chose to do it. Interesting that that's kind of what, I guess, was required for the game. So...
Also, as far as I can tell, for the difference between junior, senior, master, it's only one puzzle that's any different in the entire game.
Is it the slider puzzle?
Yes, the slider puzzle at the very beginning in Anna Louise's house, and junior and senior are the exact same puzzle. And then master's harder. I did actually find in the there's that website you can go to where they have the like lost audio files and stuff that we were talking about in the last episode. They had actually like a screenshot of that same puzzle, but it was even bigger. So I think that there was originally supposed to be 3 different versions and they had to cut it for some reason. But yeah, junior and senior are the exact same level. And then master is just a slightly harder version of that one puzzle. And I'm pretty sure everything else in the game is exactly the same.
Well, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So there's no difference then between junior and senior detective.
As far as I can tell. Or maybe it's junior's different and then senior and master are the same level. But essentially there are only two levels. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure it's junior and senior are the same. And then master is one step harder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unless there's something that I'm missing, maybe some conversations might be slightly different, but I don't think so.
Why? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe extra hints or something. I don't know. I doubt it, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure not, but yeah. Anyway.
Very interesting. Anyway, You want to get into it?
Yes.
Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Alrighty, so we start the game off just as we do with many of the other games in this time in the series with the letter that Nancy is writing. She's writing to Carson, and actually she starts off by saying that she's taking a semester off to go visit Aunt Eloise in Florida. So does this mean Nancy's in college?
That's exactly what I was going to say. What semester off from where? Because you can't take a semester off of high school. That's not how it works. Right. So the only thing you could take a semester off is college.
Right. Did they drop this? Or they did, obviously. They did drop this immediately. But like, why?
Well, we had this question when we read Secrets Can Kill, too, because the whole premise of it is that she is going to pose as a high school transfer student.
Because she's already graduated.
Because she's already graduated. But the question was, we're like, well, is she in school? Because school's in session. Right. So, like, what does she do? Is she in what's the situation there? So we had that question there, so maybe they just answered it and are saying, yeah, she's in college. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Very interesting. So Aunt Eloise has this house in Florida. So we're going to go visit Aunt Eloise. And while we're here, a case has dropped into our lap. Apparently, a student was murdered at the local high school, and the body was found, I guess, like that morning by someone named Daryl Gray. Daryl is the student council president, and basically he is going to be kind of our contact during this case because I guess he's been working with the police as well. So while Nancy is narrating the letter, we see a cutscene of the police at the school with the body being removed from the scene and a chalk outline being drawn and all that kind of stuff. And apparently when Aunt Eloise heard about this, because Aunt Eloise actually works as the librarian at this school, as soon as Aunt Eloise heard about this, she rushed Nancy over to the school and asked the principal if Nancy could investigate. So now she's going to be going undercover as a high school student, and her only contact here is Daryl. Also, Nancy tells us right off the bat that she's titling the case Secrets Can Kill, which doesn't really make sense for her to say that at the start because she doesn't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. We need to talk about the self-awareness of this game in general.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe that totally should have been one of our words. Should have been like meta or
So meta. Oh my gosh. That is something that they did away with pretty quickly as well. I think it comes up a few times in Stay Tuned for Danger, but where the clues that you're decoding just tell you the answer to the mystery, and it's like there's no in-game person that could have written this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to talk about that.
So anyway, Nancy finishes reading the letter and we are transported to the foyer of Aunt Eloise's home. Yes, very grandma core in here. There is floral wallpaper everywhere, floral couches, floral paintings. Everything is just very elaborately fancy. But in the house, we can investigate a few things here. Just look around a little bit, I guess. The entryway table has a phone card that we can use for the payphone because it is 1998. And there's also a note here from Aunt Eloise saying that she had to close the school library early today. So she's gone, and so we can't actually meet her in the game, but she's left us instructions on how to get the key for the library. The only other places that we can really explore in the house are just the living room and then the little hallway area where she's got a safe in the hallway. So we're able to, if we look around the living room, we can find the code for the safe in the hallway and get the key for the library out of the safe. There is also a TV in here that we will need later to watch some of the tapes that we're going to need to watch. Sorry, a tape.
A tape, yeah. A single tape.
Right. It was 2 tapes in the book, wasn't it? No, she just watched the same tape twice.
Yeah, she just didn't realize that there was more at the end of the tape that she watched. Right.
Yes. So also in the safe with the key to the library is a little puzzle box, and this is the one that is different based on the, I guess, difficulty level that you choose. But basically when we open that, we will get Aunt Eloise's password for the school computer. Then when we leave the house, there's a few other locations in town that we can visit. We can visit Maxine's Diner, a pharmacy called Vandelay Pharmaceuticals, and then, of course, Paseo Del Mar High School. So let's go to Maxine's Diner first. It's, of course, very 1950s cutesy diner themed with the red vinyl booths and the black and white checkered everything. And there's a pinball machine in the corner and a jukebox and a display thing of fancy cakes and stuff that you can get. It's very, very cute. The guy at the counter, though, is Daryl Gray. He says that we look like we're going to be a great addition to Paseo Del Mar's student body. He is, of course, our contact, and he also works here at the diner. He says that he is a professional escort to pretty new students.
Daryl! That does not mean what you think it means, Daryl.
Yeah.
I was like, is Daryl a sex worker? Is Daryl? We have to talk about this later. Because
in this adaptation, yes. But yeah, just as much flirting as there is in the books. That is pretty heavy here as well. He is telling Nancy how beautiful she is. She is just eating it up. We can choose to tell him about Ned, but I don't think we have to. But basically, he will tell us what happened this morning. Basically, Jake Rogers was the student who was murdered. And he says that he looked like he got beat up before he got pushed down the stairs. Either that or he was like pushed face first down the stairs. And so his face got all busted up because of the fall. Daryl says that he did not know Jake that well. And when Nancy tries to ask more about it, he's like, I have to go clean the grill or whatever. All right. Oh, yes, this is a great part to mention all the meta messages in the game, basically all over the entire game. There's a few things in the diner, but in the high school itself, all the billboards in the hallways have these things, that there are like little secret coded messages that you can just like, you don't need to decode them to solve the game. But if you do, it of course makes the game take a little bit longer, and it's fun to just go through and decode all the messages. Some of them are pretty simple, but all of them you decode in like a different way.
Right.
So you can get little hints for the game based on these messages. But as we were saying, they're kind of written in a way that makes it sound like this like omniscient third person is writing them, and not that like a real person in the mystery could have feasibly written these things and know all that's going on, because it even says like at the end of the game you need to do this, and like Nancy needs to like grab this and not run, and like all this kind of stuff.
It spoils who did it. Like it spoils, like one of them spoils who the killer is, and it's like, wait, wait, how, yeah, it's very weird.
But basically in the diner here, one of the messages that we can decode on the menu is one that says soup ladle bolt cutter. So we know we have to do something with both of those later. But now we're going to go into the back room of the diner in the kitchen. And this is where we can find some bolt cutters, like propping up the gas line next to the stove.
This is just real safe. OSHA violation.
Like literally the only thing keeping this gas line from exploding is because some bolt cutters are propping them up. Like no tape on it or anything, like no bolts, anything trying to keep it secure. It's just there. But we can take the bolt cutters away from the gas thing, and we have to replace it with the soup ladle so that it doesn't explode. It continues to keep it propped up, but then we can have the bolt cutters for when we'll need them later in the game. Oh, did you do all the codes in the game? That's awesome.
So, I didn't. But Michael did.
Argo Fump did, yeah. Okay.
So I was just like, thank you so much. I didn't keep all of them in here. I didn't put all of them in here, but I don't know. They're just such a big part of the game that it was like weird to not, like I wouldn't have written anything in a lot of places if I didn't write. You can decode some messages here, and these are what they say. So we can read them or not. It doesn't really matter, but.
There are some things that it's like you do kind of need to have read it in order to like know what to do next.
Right.
Like with Jake's locker, there's nothing that tells you that like you need to look at a phone in order to get the code unless you decode some of these.
Well, I think that calling maybe one of your friends might give you a hint to do that
it
too.
Does,
but yeah. So
yeah. But also in the kitchen here, we'll see another code that is, I think it's on the calendar. It says, Jake's fate happened deliberately. Gravity was not his first enemy.
Right. So we're learning just from this that Jake didn't just fall down the stairs. Like someone pushed him.
Right.
Yeah.
We can also go to the Vandalay Pharmaceuticals location. It's just the outside of the building, though, and we can't go inside. So there's nothing that we can really do here. But then if we decide to switch the disc at this point, we can go over to the high school. Do you want to take it from here?
Sure. So there is just like a lot to explore at the high school. It's like a typical like US high school structure with like branching hallways. There's like lockers and vending machines. So it could just feel very maze-like. And like you were saying, there's also like all of these different bulletin boards with all of these different things. You can see like trophy cases and stuff. So like there's tons to look at and tons of places to go.
Speaking of which, have you seen the like teaser trailer that they made for this game before it was ever released?
I want to say maybe I have, because it's just like Nancy wandering in these hallways, isn't it? Yeah. I think I've seen that.
Nothing like actually happening, but just like a preview of the whole school. I think that they made this just to like show to investors, like, hey, this is what we're working on kind of thing. So you can see it was actually way bigger in the original.
Wow.
And you can actually like go inside the gym, and then the study hall was like a lot bigger. So it's very interesting that like so much of it didn't make it into the final product, and it's still as big as it is.
Yeah.
And we can only go to the first floor as well, which is interesting because the second floor. Yeah, they take that away in the remastered.
Yeah.
Which is like, how did Jake fall down the stairs?
Right. What?
If it's a one-story building.
Funny. I never thought about that.
Anyway.
So down one hallway is Jake's locker we can find. It has police tape and a lock on it so that, it's obviously his. We can't get into it yet. We have to figure out the combination to it, which we can learn from a hidden message, which, like you said, are littered around the school. Most of them are on the bulletin boards, but there's also some on posters. And I think, in the teacher's lounge, which we'll get to later too. So a few of them that we can read are: find the morning edition and discover another crime. The answer is in black and white. To who will do the time? And then nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide. Let the books in the library be your answer guide. And then this one, which is probably, I think, the most relevant, is a symbol of kanji worn with great pride reflects a big secret that someone must hide. So some hints on what we can do now in the game. If we keep exploring, we can find ourselves down by the gym where we can meet another character. He is a rather athletic-looking boy who's spinning a football in his hands. When we talk to him, he is very excited about us as the quote-unquote new girl, and introduces himself as Hector Hulk Sanchez. He plays for the Manatees. That's the football team here at Paseo del Mar. And apparently... and he has dreams of going pro. And apparently Paseo del Mar's football team has been like the best in the state for the past 4 years. Oh my God. He says this thing let me just read the quote because it's insane. He says, "To be the best, you gotta be aggressive and show them who's boss, like the guy who killed Jake."
What do you know about the guy who killed Jake?
Also, I'm sorry, you're saying you have to be aggressive to be the best, like people who murder people?
Right.
You have to be a murderer to be the best?
Why would you go around saying this literally the day this guy was killed?
What a wild thing to say.
It was like a couple of hours ago.
Literally. It's like just like not. It's just so, first of all, insensitive. 2, like, that's really what you're thinking. Like, that's a crazy thing to think. And 3, wait, do you know who killed Jake? Because it sounds kind of like you do. Just wild. But he says basically that Jake couldn't cut it, and that he knew Jake, but not well. And then when we ask him for more details, he says he has to go. That keeps happening. That's so weird.
Everybody does that. There's such short conversations.
There are a few more clues or secret messages that we can find in the area near the gym tonight. And this is where we get like the spoiler for the end of the game where it says, when things go astray tonight at Vandalay, it will not help to run, so you must grab the gun. There's also one about like using the bolt cutter to cut off a chain. And this is also where we can find the secret message that will help us get into Jake's locker. It says Jake's locker combo was part of his name. Just find a phone to decode his name. I don't know.
I like that all these rhyme.
Yes.
That one didn't rhyme so well, but the rest of them sound like they're like poems or something.
Down in the study hall, we can meet Hal Tanaka, who's another character here, and he tells us that everyone is stressed about the murder. Yeah, I bet. And he tells us that he heard that Jake was pushed down the stairs, and he only knew Jake by reputation. But then when we ask about that, he says he feels uncomfortable talking about it and excuses himself to study. Okay. But, like, also with all of these characters, whenever they just, like, excuse themselves, we can just go right back up to them and talk to them again. Like, nothing happened. So we can do that with Hal. And we can ask him about Hulk. And he tells us that Hulk recently got an injury playing football. And now Hal is worried that Hulk might not have as good of a chance of playing for a top school now because of his injury. And we can also ask Hal about Daryl, and Hal says that Daryl is a good politician like his father, who we learn is a former senator. And then he also tells us some gossip that he thinks that his father's company went bankrupt recently or a couple of years ago or something. So that's interesting. And then the very last character that we can meet at the school is in the student lounge, and her name is Connie. She is also reeling about the dead body, and she calls Jake a total freak that no one liked, and then she says she has to go. But then we can just go up and talk to her again. When we ask her about Hal, she says he's an exchange student from Japan and a total workaholic. She says that he's focused on getting a scholarship, but is looking totally burnt out lately. And she says that if he can't get a good enough scholarship, that he'll have to go back to Japan to his family, which would be, quote unquote, disgraceful. I don't think she thinks it would be disgraceful, but I think she means like for him and for his family, it would be disgraceful. And she also says that Daryl is the only guy she'd consider dating at Paseo Del Mar because he drives a Porsche. But also, we're like, yeah, but he works at a diner. How does he drive a Porsche and work at a diner? And Connie says that his family is rich and used to throw parties, but that they don't anymore. Okay. So we're supposed to read the subtext of the facts that, like, Daryl is on hard times financially. You know, but like, sell your Porsche then, dude. Like, I don't know, get a cheaper car, whatever. Also in the student lounge is a phone, and we can use our phone card to call people, including Bess and George and Ned. But this is before they really fully developed their phone a friend system, I'll say. So we don't really have like conversations with them. We like say hi, and then they'll just like give us like a hint, and then like that's it. Like that's the whole conversation. So it's not a whole lot to tell there. And you can call some other numbers too that you find in the game, and maybe hear some funny messages and stuff like that. But there's really no like in-depth like phone conversations. You don't have to call anybody ever in the game.
You try to call the police because I thought like, oh, that'd be interesting. Like we can get their perspective on what's going on and everything. They'll fill us in a little bit more. And the police are just like, get back to work, Nancy. Stop playing with the payphone.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were going to have a conversation. I was going to fill you in what I learned, but whatever.
Well, and also like, what a thing to say. First of all, one, how do they know that Nancy is here investigating? I thought she was undercover. I thought that was the whole point. Two, like to tell this young girl after there's been a literal murder of a child.
You're right.
Of a high school student murdered, and you're telling a young girl, like, you figure it out. Leave us alone. What?
Thanks.
But also because the phone is in here, we can use this to help decode Jake's name, right? To get into his locker. And so we'll see that the letters J-A-K-E correspond with the numbers 5253. So this must be his locker combination. You want to take it?
Sure. So let's go open Jake's locker. Inside, we're going to find a cassette case, but we open it and it's empty. There's also a book called English Essays Through the Ages, and then there's a magazine of a Judo Today. There's a magazine called Judo Today that has an article that explains how at the recent Paseo Del Mar men's tournament, an unknown mass participant swept the competition and won. And then we also do find a newspaper that has an article in it about recent break-ins at Vandalay Pharmacy. And then there's also a box cutter that just falls out of the locker, so we can take that for our inventory. Now we can go explore the library now that we have Aunt Eloise's key. And this is a rather large, beautiful two-story library. And there are a ton of clues in here. I could spend hours in here just on its own. Some of the clues that you have to decode, they say, sabotage should cause concern, but with the gloves, you will not burn. Don't run, Nancy.
Scary. Horrifying.
Yes. The bolt cutter you must take, or you could be the next Jake. And then the one with the temper and the iron fist is more than a suspect on Jake's blackmail list. Interesting. Also in the books in here, if you go read the book title, some of them are just like fun, her interactive inside jokes or whatever, but then some of them are actual titles of like Nancy Drew files and super mysteries, which is really cool. Love that. They do that in the remastered as well, but they take out some of the Nancy Drew book titles and replace it with like references from other games. But yeah, still really cool. But one thing that you can look in here is an encyclopedia with an entry on kanji, which when you look at this, Nancy will remark that the kanji symbol that Connie is wearing on her necklace means crane.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Connie's wearing a necklace. Although when you like look at her, you may not, like, I didn't even notice that. So I didn't think about writing that down. But yeah, she's wearing like a little medallion. Yes. That I guess has a kanji symbol on it that means crane. So.
And at this point, we'll go talk to the characters a little bit more, and we can ask Hulk about Connie. He says that she hangs out at the gym a lot, and he says that he's heard that she's having a cash flow problem. We'll try to ask him about his injury, and he says she's misinformed because he is just as strong as ever. He does tell us that Hal Tanaka and Jake Rogers used to hang out, which is not what Hal told us whatsoever. Right. But apparently Hal's locker was right next to Jake's, and the last time that Hulk saw them together, Hal seemed pretty upset about something. Very interesting. He'll also tell us that Daryl and his family used to sponsor some sort of like annual football awards dinner, but stopped doing it last year. Probably more financial issues here. Right. But then he'll kind of gets like progressively more angry as we're asking about Jake, and he'll kind of like try to force Nancy out of the conversation. But we can just like come back and keep talking to him. And then eventually we'll ask him about the robbery at the pharmacy, and he's just like, I don't know anything about that. Don't ask me. Okay. Next we'll go talk to Hal, and we'll ask him about Connie, and he says that he thinks that she was dating Jake Rogers.
What?
That's weird.
She said he was a creep.
Right.
Well, maybe that's how she knows.
Yeah. But he continues to like hold on to this story that he and Jake were not friends. So don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
So let's go ask Connie about this, and we'll bring up the like money being tight thing that Hulk said, and she gets super offensive and is like, he can mind his own business.
Which, like, honestly, fair.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But then we'll ask her about her kanji medallion, the one that says crane, and we'll say, hey, you know, there's that poster for the judo school over there, and it's called the Crane School of Defense. Is there anything there? And she's just like, no, that's just a total coincidence. Don't worry about that. And she'll actually just kind of like get a little annoyed with us, and we'll back out of the conversation, but we'll go back and ask her again. And she says that actually, yeah, she did date Jake, but it was like the biggest mistake ever. Okay. So let's go talk to Daryl again as well. He doesn't really say anything new about the other suspects that we know, except that he says that, and he thinks that Hal is missing out on high school and like the fun of, you know, that whole experience just because of his obsession with getting a good scholarship.
It's a little, it's not cool, Daryl.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a little bit more pressure than you probably.
Right. Yeah. To each their own. Maybe he doesn't care about coming to the diner every day
also
like
that.
Other people do. Like,
also
whatever.
That. Don't be so judgy, Daryl.
Right. We'll also ask him about the video camera that Jake had in his locker. Did I say that? There was a video case and then also a video camera. Sorry.
You can't even really click on it, so I don't know. Yeah.
You could just see it sitting in the bottom there. And so we'll ask him about it. And he says that Jake was a member of the film club, and he was always messing around with video equipment. Apparently, he had been recently filming his own project, but Daryl doesn't know anything about what the project was about. But he says, I think it was a documentary because I never saw him with like actors or like a script or anything. He was always just like filming random things.
This is wild, and we need to talk about this later.
Yes. Yes. We'll also ask him about the pharmacy break-in, and he says that the police thought it was a prank at first. At least until the staff found out that only one drug was missing, and it's a steroid. All right. So we go back to the school, and if we kind of go around the side of the building rather than just through the front door, we can see into the windows for the teacher's lounge. We can't get into the teacher's lounge from the main, like from within the building, because one, we don't have the key into because Connie is like standing right there. So she would notice. But we'll use the box cutter that we got from Jake's locker, and we'll like cut a hole in the glass, and we're able to like open the window and climb through.
Okay. PSA for everybody. You cannot cut glass on a window with a box cutter.
No, you cannot.
That doesn't work.
Do not try this.
That's not how that works. Don't do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, don't break and enter.
PSA. Yes.
Yes.
That too.
Yes.
But just also know that you can't successfully do it with a box cutter. Okay? Okay?
They do cut this from the remastered, actually. You do have to just, like, break in through the door.
Right.
Or, no, you get the key, I think. But you have to, like, find the key and then get Connie out of the room. And then you can get into the room.
I just don't understand how, like, Nancy is here undercover with the permission of the principal. And she can't get a master key.
Right.
To go into these places. Like...
Just have to make it more complicated, right?
Yeah, yes.
But we'll get into the teacher's lounge this way. And from here, there is a computer in here. And this is where we can use Aunt Eloise's login to, like, get into the school, what is it called?
System, I don't know.
The school system.
Server, I don't know. Log in on the desktop.
Server, yeah.
Yeah.
But in her account, we'll see a few things here. One, there's a to-do list, and it says that Aunt Eloise needs to locate a missing book called English Essays Through the Ages. Wasn't that in Jake's locker? That's weird.
We found that one.
There's also a maintenance to-do list that says that the video lab door needs the lock repaired on it. And then it also says that a company called Dillon HVAC needs to be called to service the boiler room. And then we also need to change the password for the boiler room door. But if we go into another part of the computer, we can see like a list of passwords for different offices in the school that will come in handy later because we'll need that to unlock the boiler room door. If we click on the printer icon on the computer, though, it will print the last thing that was printed, which is a detailed security report from the previous night. So apparently a few things happened after the school closed for that day. Some lights were left on in the library, which, like, there's an email from the security guard to Aunt Eloise. It's like, hey, second night in a row, the lights were on in the library after hours. What's that about? Doesn't strike me as something Aunt Eloise would just, like, do on accident, you know? And then a toolbox belonging to the Dillon HVAC company was left in the boiler room. And Hal came by the school once, like, late that night because he forgot some of his homework in his locker. And then the security guard later records that night that he heard an argument in the video lab. And then when he approached the lab, two men come running out. One looked like a student and one looked like an older man, like in his 20s to 30s maybe. And then the student runs out one way and then the older man runs out near the boiler room door, which the exit to that had been locked. So the security guard believes that, like, they somehow have a key to get in and out from that door. All right, so this is telling us a lot here about what went down last night. Yeah, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Also, in the teacher's lounge, there are a bunch of filing cabinets, and in one drawer, we can actually read Hal Tanaka's file, and we can see the essay that he wrote, and Nancy will remark that that essay reads exactly like the essay from the book English Essays Through the Ages that we found in Jake's locker, and must have been stolen from the library. So, Hal plagiarized.
Come on, Hal.
There are also several clues that you can find in the teacher's lounge as well. There's one that says Tanaka cheats. There's one that says search behind the boiler. Then a trophy was not the only prize, but also money of great size. And then one that says Connie Watson was innocent. So Connie's just, you know, cleared right there. So that's nice. But so now that we know that Hal cheated, and that Jake knew, presumably, right, because he had that book in his locker, we can go confront Hal about it. And Hal will just admit to it and says he's very ashamed about it. He says basically the pressure just got to him and he plagiarized because he was too busy to do his work, you know? And somehow Jake found out about it, he doesn't know how, and blackmailed him into doing Jake's homework, like doing his homework for him. Oh my God. And he apparently said that if Hal didn't do his homework, he would tell Hal's family everything about his cheating. And we can ask Hal, like, okay, well, so sounds like you had a reason to hate Jake. Did you kill him? And he says he would never kill anyone. No, that he did not kill Jake. And he does ask to please not tell anyone about it because, like, this would destroy his family, which is really sad. And he does, like, promise to make up for his mistake by, like, doing really well in school moving forward and becoming a doctor and like saving people's lives. So it's kind of like, okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, but he does tell us something interesting. He says that he delivered Jake's homework to his locker the other day, and he noticed that Jake mentioned having a meeting with Daryl Gray, which he thought was odd. So let's go talk to Daryl about that. But first, we can kind of tell him that Hal, Hulk, and Connie were all involved with Jake, and that they had information that Jake had information that could jeopardize Hal's career, like his plagiarism, that Connie once dated Jake, and that Hulk is very touchy about the pharmacy break-in. And basically, Daryl recommends to us that we either hand the case over to the police or keep pressuring the suspects until one of them cracks, which is like, thanks, Sherlock. And he then tells us that some guy dropped off a note for us, and he hands it to us, and the note reads, "I have the solution to your mystery. Meet me in the boiler room." Okay. So I love this, first of all, because this is like the first instance of Nancy receiving like a secret note. Love it. Love the trope.
Wonderful.
And it continues to happen, and I'm so glad. So let's go meet our fate in this obvious trap. And head to the boiler room. The boiler room is locked, but we know the password from the computer in the teacher's lounge. But you do need to translate it into Braille because the keypad is only in Braille for some reason. But there is a book in the library on Braille that you can use to do this. So once you're able to decode that and get into the get into the room, we have to switch the CD and go down into the elevator into the actual boiler room. And when we get down there, immediately we'll see that the levers on the front of the boiler have been set to dangerous pressure levels and all chained together so that they can't move. Also, the elevator button has been broken and disabled, so we can't leave that way. Also, I think the chain is too hot for us to touch, so we have to get the gloves out of the toolbox that we know has been left down there by Dylan HVAC, and use those with the bolt cutters to unlock the chain from around the levers. And then once we do that, we can use there's like a little poster on the wall to the left that shows like what the pressure setting should be for these levers, and we can use that to kind of fix the levers into the right position in order to stop the boiler from exploding. Because if you don't do that in time, the whole school will explode. So you have to have a second chance.
Wonderful.
And so once we do that successfully without blowing up the school, we can find a grate behind the boiler that leads all the way to the exterior of the school. And so we can escape that way. But as we're crawling through this vent, it's like someone has dropped a VHS tape in here for some reason, which, don't get me started on this. Who was crawling through? Oh, I guess whoever sabotaged this had to escape this way because, okay. I don't know why I was like, who else is crawling through these school vents? But clearly it was the person who just sabotaged the boiler. Okay. And so now we have this VHS tape. Could this be the one that was missing from the case in Jake's locker?
Could it be?
You gonna take it?
Sure. So let's go watch this tape. We're going to go back to Aunt Eloise's house because she's got the VHS player. And then when we get to Aunt Eloise's house and we start watching it, we see footage of Hulk stealing steroids from the pharmacy.
That's why he was touchy.
Little sensitive subject there. And then the tape kind of glitches, and then we see a different set of footage here. And it's Connie taking her mask off directly after the judo competition. And she's like putting the trophy in her car and driving away. So Connie is the masked winner or whatever of this competition. And then we see a video of Hal in the library with that book from his locker, directly copying notes onto his notepad or whatever. So this must be Jake's video and the proof that he was using to blackmail all three of these people. But that's not all that's on the tape. We also see footage of Daryl doing some kind of handoff with an older man in some parking lot. So let's go talk to Daryl about this right away, obviously, because we need to know more about what's going on here. But we get to the diner and there's a sign on the door that says back in 10 minutes. So I guess we'll confront everybody else first. We go talk to Hulk and we tell him that we know that Jake knew that he'd broken into the drug depot and was blackmailing him. Hulk confesses and he says that yes, he stole the steroids to help him keep playing after his injury, but it wasn't worth it because he was still in pain. And then once Jake found out, he spent all of his free time playing errand boy for him. So awful. Apparently, the last thing Jake ever had him do was deliver a sealed note to Daryl. So he guesses that Jake was also blackmailing Daryl as well. Then we'll go talk to Connie about this, and we tell her that we know that she won the men's judo competition, and that we know that she was being blackmailed. And she says basically she's not sorry about this because the prize money is better in the men's competition than it is in the women's category, and this is how she's going to pay for college. But she is not the one who killed Jake. I'm sorry, she's right. God.
Justice for Connie!
Right?
Like, what the hell?
This is so 1998. I don't think you could have the same plot line today.
No
you know?
way. The money is better in the men's judo competitions?
Of course it is. It's always better in the men's version of the sport.
Oh my God. Yeah, I wouldn't be sorry either. Because she could win it.
Yeah, it's not like she cheated or something.
No, she just concealed her identity. Mm-hmm. Because she's a woman.
She's less likely to win it because she's going up against people that are assumingly stronger than her, I guess. Yeah. But, like, most likely. I don't know. But, come on.
Seriously. Oh, my
Girl,
God.
You have nothing to be embarrassed for.
I can't believe she gave into the blackmail because, like, I would be like, you know what? Like,
Go
tell
ahead.
Everybody. Like, fine. Like, I already have the prize money and they'll have to get it back from me somehow. And then I'll say like, oh, because you're not going to let a girl win your men's judo competition. And then it would be a whole newspaper thing. And then even if you did have to return the prize money, you could get so much money from all the interviews that you're doing for the media. Like, come on. Like, and then you could write so many excellent college essays about the time I had to return prize money to these sexist asshole judo people. And then they'll give you a scholarship. So, you know.
This is such a sad story. Like, she had probably like one, the most to lose here because this was so much writing on this for her. But two, like, she did the least wrong.
Yes.
And then three, she gets the worst out of it because Jake blackmails her into dating him. Not just like running errands for him, but like he probably sexually assaulted her.
Right.
Like, this is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, poor Connie.
Yes. Yeah. And like God knows what like he was telling people about her.
Right.
Like I mean, just like think about how like gross men are in relationships and talking about like women and like you know, like sexually and shit like that. I cannot imagine the gross things he said about her that damaged her reputation. Like, yeah.
Poor Connie.
I know. Justice for Connie.
Yeah.
Hashtag, that's going to be another, we need to get that hashtag. Hashtag justice for Connie.
Yes.
Because, oh my God.
Poor Connie. Yeah.
I hope this girl goes on to a super stellar college, does amazing in, you know, women's or college judo championship stuff, goes to the freaking Olympics, like, does all this cool shit.
We're here for you, Connie. We're on your team. Yes, justice for Connie. So yes, we've already busted Hal, of course, so there's nothing really more to talk to him about. So we're going to go talk to Daryl again. And this time he's back already. So we asked him, or we talked to him and we tell him that we know that he was being blackmailed by Jake. And we asked if he was selling drugs. And he says, basically yes, but he didn't know what he was getting into.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there's this guy named Mitch Dillon. So Dillon HVAC repair? Mitch gave him the opportunity to make some fast cash, and he needed it because of the financial troubles his family has been having. So all he had to do was just like pick up a package at the pharmaceutical company and just not ask questions. And that's all he had to do. But then Mitch threatened him, and Daryl doesn't know how Jake found out. But one day Jake told him that he knew and had enough evidence to get him put away. So this is when Jake started blackmailing Daryl. But then Daryl sort of guesses. He says, I think Jake could have thought that he could have gotten even more money out of this by also trying to blackmail Mitch directly. And then this is what Daryl presumes is what made Mitch kill Jake. We asked if Mitch left that note for us, the one telling us to go to the boiler room. And Daryl doesn't confirm this, but he tells us that we are in danger and we need to go to the police because Mitch is out of our league.
He did try to blow us up. So
he did.
I guess he did try to blow everyone up because in the cutscene where if you lose out, the entire school blows up. So really, he tries to commit an act of terrorism.
Mass murder, right. And there's not a lot going on today, but they say that school is in session right now. So it's a full building.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't see this, but every character that you talk to when you first speak to them, they're like, wow, so much is happening today. There's so many people on campus right now. It's okay, so there's more people here than normal, and he's going to blow them all up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they keep saying, did you see all the cops earlier? And obviously there's no cops anywhere. We're just seeing the people that we can talk to, but I think that's funny. Anyway, you want to take the ending here?
Oh my God, sure. Okay. So this is so important. So we asked Daryl if he really wants us to go to the police, right? Because that's what he told us. He said, you should go to the police. And he says, actually, he wishes we could just forget that the whole thing happened.
What, the murder?
Yeah, you mean the murder of a student? I don't think so, Daryl. I don't think we can forget that. But then he says, since he knows we can't do that, he just wants to help if it's not too late. Okay. I hate this boy. I hate Daryl.
He's terrible.
I hate him. He's horrible. So Nancy says, okay, well, so basically we need evidence and we need some way to get Mitch to confess to Jake's murder somehow. And so Daryl tells us that he has to deliver food to the pharmaceutical plant later so we can try to, quote unquote, grab Mitch tonight when he gives him the package.
That's not the same as getting a confession out of him.
This is so confusing. I'm so confused by this. Because first of all, Daryl delivers food there often, it seems like. Is he really delivering food, or is this supposed to be a euphemism for drugs?
Presumably he'd be taking the drugs away from there, not bringing them in.
Maybe he delivers food there and then takes the drugs away.
Right, and
maybe
that's the cover.
Food delivery is the cover for the drug deal.
Sounds like it.
I guess that makes sense. But we don't get that. That's not clear to us, which is weird because it's this whole game is talking to people. So you would think that this conversation should be really long and that we should get all those details, but we don't. Anyway.
Is he just bringing Mitch dinner? Is that all this is?
Yes. I'm wait, so you're just Uber Eats for this guy? Is that what this is? But anyway, also, grab him. I'm sorry, grab him? I thought we were trying to get a confession. Also, presumably this guy's older and he's a drug dealer, and so we're just gonna, what? Go kidnap him, tie him up, and then force a confession out of him? What's the goal here? What is really the plan here? Because I don't think this is good enough, you guys. But anyway, that's the plan, I guess. So at this point, basically, we have to wait until nighttime to be able to go confront Mitch. But so we can go around and ask all the other different characters if they will help us with Mitch, help us catching Mitch. And Hulk says he doesn't want to risk getting involved, and Hal says he can't either, and surprise, Connie also doesn't want to help, so none of them, they say we can't take the risk with college right around the corner, which is I also wouldn't want to confront a drug dealer, but I would be can you not just call the police? Can we not do that? Maybe that's the right course of action.
Well, you try to, and they tell you to get back to work,
That's
so
true.
I guess this is all in our hands.
That's true. That's very true, Kori. But yeah, anyway, none of them will help us. But so at this point, it's nighttime and we can go to the pharmacy. And when we get there, we immediately see Daryl and Mitch arguing. Daryl doesn't seem to want to hand over the package that he's holding to Mitch, which is isn't this just a hamburger or something? Why can't Mitch have the hamburger? I don't understand. Anyway, they're fighting. And they start physically fighting with each other. And then Mitch pulls out a gun and points it at Daryl. And then, oh my God, this is so perfect. We see Connie come out of nowhere and deliver a flying kick to Mitch in the back of the head, which knocks him down. And then The gun goes flying and just lands in our inventory. We just have it. And so then Mitch gets up, knocks Connie down. Daryl's already on the ground bleeding. And so then Mitch turns around and starts coming at us. And so then we have to take the gun out of our inventory and hold Mitch at gunpoint, which then he will freeze when he sees the gun. And then we say that the police are on their way. Which, no, they're not. Who called the police? We tried. We did. That didn't work. Yeah. Who called the police? That wasn't part of the plan. We didn't ask anybody to do that. This is so annoying to me.
Also, if you don't get the gun out of your inventory in time, Mitch will just kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
This is so dark.
Rated E for everyone. It really is. That's actually the rating of this game.
Yes,
Love
that's
it.
So wild. My God. But yeah, then that's the end of the game. And we, again, have our letter wrap up. Nancy's writing to Carson again. She says that Mitch is on his way to prison, I guess.
Okay.
Because I guess he must have confessed to the cops. We don't know. We don't know why or how that worked. Whatever. She says that Daryl is recovering. Did he get shot? That's still unclear. Or is he just scraped up?
I think he got shot.
I think so too, because he gets shot in the book.
Yeah, in the leg, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And he's bleeding on the ground in the game, so.
Well, he's bleeding on the ground, I think. I'll have to look back at it, but I think it's from his, stomach. It's, from his side. Which is,
maybe. I might just be making that up. No, that's not.
But yeah, so he's recovering in the hospital. And then also, Nancy says that Connie is giving Daryl private judo lessons, which is
okay.
Ew, why are we doing that? Why are we talking about that like that? That's so gross. So gross. And then apparently Hulk agreed to pay damages to the pharmacy, and we learned that Hal got a scholarship. And that's just the end. And the very, very last bit of the letter is Nancy saying that Aunt Eloise got a letter from someone about death threats on a TV show. And so that's the setup for the next game, of course, which is Stay Tuned for Danger. So yeah, that's the end.
That's Secrets Can Kill.
Oh my God. Okay. The first person I would talk about here is Daryl.
Yes.
Because this just does not make sense to me. First of all, he's been lying to us this whole time.
Yep.
Because he knew the whole time that Mitch was the one who killed Jake.
Yeah, or he strongly suspected, at least.
And he knew that we were here to investigate this.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed at times he was just not being obtuse, but he was purposefully leading us astray.
Yep.
When he tells us oh, I guess you just have to either go to the police or keep pressuring the suspects until they crack. Well, he knew that neither of those things were going to be successful.
Because none of we never talk to the suspect. We never meet Mitch except for the very end.
He knows that none of those people, or he believes that none of those people did it, at least. And then, there's something else that he does that he says. Oh, yeah, the camera thing. Him having a camera. He tells us that, we ask, why did Jake have a video camera in his locker? And he's oh, he must have been filming some kind of documentary. He knew the whole time that Jake was blackmailing people because he was being blackmailed by Jake. He knew that Jake had that's how he was blackmailing him, was that footage. Mm-hmm. So Daryl knew why Jake had a video camera. And he was oh, I don't know what it was. It must have been some documentary. Are you serious?
He just wanted to cover for himself for his, food delivery that he was doing?
This is what I'm saying. Is, he didn't kill Jake. He didn't kill him. So,
right.
What... And also, we're just, we're, essentially his age. We're, a little bit older, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
A year or so older than him. And he, won't tell us that he was being blackmailed. It's a crime was committed against you, dude. You're a child being blackmailed by an adult. By, adult drug dealer.
Right.
So, I think you could go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
You truly didn't know what it was you were doing. See, right. I mean, at least at first, right? So you could at least plead that. I mean, I don't know. This is wild to me. This is just truly wild. Like, what a horrible person. I know that Jake was not a good guy, or like, I know he was also a creep or whatever, but like, he got murdered, and to be like, oh, I wish we could just forget about all this. What?
You don't want to clear your name, Daryl, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff?
Like, seriously. Especially when you know the person responsible is actually like this adult drug dealer. I just don't understand how you can't want that guy for your own sake to stop the blackmail or stop the manipulation of you.
Because presumably it's still happening.
Right.
Or it obviously is, because that note got dropped off and everything. Yeah. You don't want to stop
be like,
that?
oh, thank God there's someone here I can kind of talk to and make a plan about without having to go directly to the police because, yeah, maybe that's intimidating to you, right? Instead, I'm going to lie to her.
It's only a lose situation for him to lie to Nancy.
Seriously, I don't get it.
Clear your name, stop the blackmail. He does this in the book too, except he's also making out with Nancy the whole time.
Right.
And manipulating her that way.
You guys, you have to go, if you don't read the book, you have to listen to our episode on the book because
yes, it's so good.
It's so good, and also like all of this stuff makes so much more sense when you know about like
it really does.
Everything going on with everybody. So that's something else let's talk about the differences between the game and the book a little bit, because the one that stands out the most to me is the drugs, right?
Yeah, because that was not a plot point in Hulk. He has a different name in the book, but his whole thing is that he got injured, but the steroids were never part of it in the book.
It was just the injury, which we had big beef about when we read the book. We were like, how is someone getting injured blackmail worthy?
Right.
Like,
he did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong. This poor guy, he did absolutely zero wrong. He got injured at a game and is trying to hide it because he wants to be able to play so that he can get scouted. And someone's blackmailing him about this. This is horrible.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, at the end of the book, it's still treated kind of like he did something wrong.
Right.
By trying to hide his injury. And it's like, no, he was in pain. He was injured.
I mean, it was wrong for his body for him to push himself so hard, but it's not morally a bad thing.
No, you know? But he's treated kind of like a criminal like the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then also judo is not in the book. Connie is just a girl.
Well, she was stealing.
She was stealing, right, but...
Yeah, shoplifting.
She wasn't a judo athlete.
Right, yeah, nothing like that. She was just there.
Oh, so, yeah. So I think those are the biggest... I like the judo inclusion.
Yeah, that was fun.
And I do even I like the drug inclusion, too. I think it adds a lot to the motive of the game. I think it makes a lot more sense.
I think it makes much more sense than just he's being blackmailed because he's hurt. Yeah.
Right. But Daryl, I think Daryl was actually dealing drugs, right?
He was, it was that whole, trading information for...
Oh my God, that's right! I forgot about the Russian spies!
Because his father worked for the...
Right! His
was
father...
it was a diplomat or something, and, knew how to get in contact with these people, and then Mitch was working at that place. He wasn't with the HVAC people.
That's right.
And so he was trading, state secrets.
Yeah, okay. So the game then makes so much more sense than it's just a drug dealer, run-of-the-mill drug dealer who also has an HVAC company.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of some janitor at some missile place that just happens to be in this town selling state secrets to the Russians. Oh my God. Hilarious.
I do think that overall the changes that they made to adapt it work really well.
Yeah.
And I think that, just a lot of the issues with it just come with the nature of it being the first game in the series. I think that if they had made this around even just 2 or 3 games later, it would have been a perfect adaptation. Every single little detail would have made it in there. There is a lot of this game relies on the player a lot to make inferences about what is supposed to happen next. Yes. So that's a little bit annoying. But I think my number one issue with this game is that we don't meet Mitch until the very end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this was actually a later game for me. My first ever game was number 5, and then I played 4, and then I played some later games after that. I think I just went like 6, 7, 8, and then it was like much later that I ever played number 1 for the first time. So for me, I was very used to the structure of the series by that point, and so I was unaware that it was going to be completely different. I was fully expecting one of our 4 people that we talked to the entire game to be the culprit, and then I get to the end, and I'm like, what the hell? You like dragged this new guy in out of nowhere with like maybe a few references to him in some of the text, the things that we have to read, but otherwise you would never know about Mitch until you get to the end. And just it felt a little bit dirty of them to do that. It's like, well, it's not fair. I could have never guessed that it was him, you know. So that annoyed me a lot. But
yeah, I mean, I definitely love the format of like where someone you're talking to is being dishonest with you and you have to like find them out. I think that's a really fun, great trope, but it is really realistic.
It is, of course, yeah.
To like not, I mean, especially when you're interviewing high school students, it's like, oh, of course it's this guy who's like not really like, he's like
part of things.
So that makes sense. Like, and you wouldn't discover a suspect until later, but yeah, it does take some of the fun out of, you know, what you want to do, which is you want to catch the bad guys out instead of like solving the crime. You want to have the one up on them, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
It didn't feel fair. It's like Her Interactive, you taught me the rules of your series with like 10 other games, and then I play your first one, and it's not like that at all.
The rules hadn't been written yet, babe.
That's very, very true. Yeah, it was just a little bit, it threw me off, definitely, when I played it for the first time. Now, having read the book, I appreciate a lot more how much they were able to inject into this game with the detail, because a lot of it is there. It's just not really addressed. It's not made a big deal out of it. It's just like a little one-off comment, but it's like, yeah, that was like a whole chapter of the book, basically, you know. So
I do really like, I don't want to talk too much about the remastered version because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played it until, of course, we get to that episode. But then you should know to expect spoilers. But since this episode is not about that, I don't want to spoil anything.
Of course.
But I do really like what they did in that game with the culprit, because I do think it kind of fits more into that classic structure. And I do think it's more enjoyable for that reason. You know, we have our own critiques about the whole situation anyway, but we talk about that when we cover that game. But yeah, I appreciate their attempt with the remaster to kind of reshape what this game is into more of what's expected.
I don't know. I feel like with the remaster, they get even further away from the book.
Yeah,
and they get further away from that point that it feels like the remaster should have almost taken us back to the book more. Instead of introducing Uncle Steve, we should have just had Mitch be the extra character, you know, like something like that.
Well, I mean, as far as like the gameplay goes, you know.
Well, yeah, of course, but there are a lot of really great things about the remastered, but there are some things that are just like, really? Why? You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been an excellent opportunity to be like, okay, there are all these things that we really wanted to add into the original, but we just didn't have the chance. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the time. Let's just do that now. But,
you know, I think the remastered version may be the only game that I think I've only ever played once. I don't know that I've ever replayed that game. We should definitely do that soon.
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember a whole lot of the content of that game. That, and I realized Haunted Carousel. I also remember, I mean, like, I remember a lot from Haunted Carousel, but I realized the other day that I don't even think I remember who the culprit is in that game.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think that if I started playing it again, I would remember.
Okay.
But I remember, like, all the things in the game. This is totally aside, and maybe we should cut this out. I don't know. But, like, I remember Miles the Magnificent Memory Machine. I remember Joy. I remember, you know, the haunted house with the ghost arm or whatever. I remember the track getting stuck on Nancy's foot. I remember niacin. You need niacin. Eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I remember all of those things. But I just don't remember. I know that there's, like, one other character, and I can't remember who that is.
Oh, there's Elliot the painter, and then there's Harlan the security guard.
Now I remember.
And then Ingrid is the niacin.
Yes,
woman.
I remember Ingrid and Joy, and we should replay that one too. But anyway,
yes.
What were we talking about?
I will say I think I like this version better than the remastered.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just boring to me because you don't do anything.
There's nothing going on, really. It's just talking to people, decoding messages. the thing in the boiler room and then the thing at the very end. Oh, and breaking into the teacher's lounge is something that, like, you have to do. But, like,
yeah,
that's not really much going on.
No. And, like, there's no puzzles, really, right? This is before they really decided to introduce puzzles in a major way.
That's just that one puzzle, that slider box at the beginning where we get the
I mean, I think
password.
even in Stay Tuned for Danger and Message in a Haunted Mansion, is just they don't really have puzzles. The best one, the one they really kicked it off is Treasure in a Royal Tower.
That's
with
true.
their puzzles, with getting into the library. Like, that's the best.
Just delightful.
Still one of the best puzzles, I think, of all the games is getting into the library or Treasure in a Royal Tower.
So satisfying when you finally do it for the first time. Oh my gosh, so good.
So satisfying. But yeah, so no puzzles. There's just, and even I feel like talking to people is the only thing that you do in this game. But it's like, you also, I feel like, don't talk to people enough. Like, I feel like people aren't giving me enough information to go on. And I would feel like for this kind of game, you would definitely need more of that. Like, I don't understand why there wasn't more to do on the phone. I don't understand why we can't talk to Aunt Eloise. I don't understand, or at least have, like, some kind of textual communication with her, like maybe writing notes back and forth or something to, like, give us information, like, oh, sorry, we keep missing each other, kind of a thing. But yeah, we don't, I feel like we don't get enough information. It's all subtext. It's all, like, all of the references to everything give you so much information, but you can't connect it all just by playing the game. You wouldn't know that, like, like a lot of the stuff that's actually going on if you hadn't read the book, which it's like fun. Like, it's fun to have little Easter eggs from the book and be like, oh, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that. But I didn't read the book before I played this game, you know, and I would assume that most of the target audience didn't either. Right. Because these games are marketed to girls like 12. A
much younger audience.
Right. Whereas the files are older teens, really. So, and those came out in the 80s, obviously. So, like, 80s and 90s. Yeah. So, like, that wasn't something that was, like, I was the right age for at that time. So, yeah.
Even, like, the school dance thing, there's a banner in the hallway that's like, school dance this Friday. And that's, like, a major plot point in the book. Yeah. But it's just, like, that's just that little detail is, like, you know that there is a dance, but it doesn't come into play at all.
So, like, I just wish that we could get way more of that detail. And you could still have those little Easter eggs, but I feel like we needed just so much more actual information about what was going on. And it would be a really good way to make the game last longer without, I feel like, too much extra work. Like, just some more voice acting, like some more conversation coding. Like, I guess you'd have to do more character illustrations or whatever, but not if you actually used the phone. This is why I don't understand why we couldn't use the phone, actually.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, that's my biggest beef with it, is just like nothing happens. You don't do anything and nothing happens, and the ending doesn't make sense. Because there is no plan, and the plan that you make isn't what you do. And then somehow Mitch goes to prison, even though we didn't get a confession, and the police were not called or there or anything like that. So it's like, what?
Daryl just dropped him off at jail in the Porsche, and that's how he got there.
Like that must have been what happened. Nancy was holding him at gunpoint, and it was just like, march, kid. Like, and then the police must have been like, oh, you brought us a drug dealer. Thanks, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. For all I know, that could have happened. Like, Nancy doesn't tell us. So annoying.
I think for this to have been more successful, we needed Bess and George to be more active. I would have loved them to be, like, in the game, especially with what they do in the book and how involved they are. But having them as better phone characters would have been, like, 1,000% improvement. I think we needed to meet Mitch previously, or, like, at least speak to him on the phone. Maybe not, like, have him as a suspect where we can go talk to him anytime, like our other.
But you could, like, need to call like Dylan HVAC or something. Yeah.
And then I think we needed something in the video lab. I think we needed just one extra scene. We needed to, like, be in the video lab and, like, hear somebody messing around in there, and then we find extra clues, and then that leads us to just a little bit more down the blackmail road, and then that leads us to suspect Mitch. Yeah. And then that would have just given us so much more. even Ned as an in-game character would have worked really well in this one, I think.
Well, what I think our in-game character that we should have had should have been Aunt Eloise. And I will forever be sad that we can't actually talk to Aunt Eloise, that we'd never get an Aunt Eloise in the game.
I know.
I mean, like, I do appreciate, like, the mystique of her character, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just wish there was some way to talk to her or communicate with her, even if it's just through email. I know in 1998 that wasn't really a thing, but, like...
Right.
Messages on an answering machine, like... notes left on that table. Like, I just wanted more interaction with Aunt Eloise because I just feel like she's such a great character. And yeah, can we talk about Aunt Eloise a little bit? Because I just think this is such an interesting representation of her in this game in general. First of all, Nancy having an aunt is like, I don't know why I love it so much. But yeah. So in this game, she is a school librarian, and Nancy is coming to stay with her for a semester for no reason, it seems like. That's another question. Why are you taking a semester off to go stay with your aunt in Florida? What's going on, Nancy? But,
why not?
But so she lives in Florida. She works at this high school. And when Nancy comes into town and a murder happens, she immediately takes Nancy to the school and is like, "This is my niece. She's great.
Yes.
Like, have
I'm so
her do
proud
it."
of her.
Like, she's like it just seems like such a great aunt move, like a supportive aunt move. Like, being so proud of her niece is just the cutest thing I have ever seen. Also, or thought about. Also, her school login, the password is O Wise Elder, which is an anagram of her name. And I just stan a woman who uses an anagram as her password.
Right.
Like, she just seems so cool to me. But I am really confused about what her, like, socioeconomic status is.
Right.
Because in the second game, we learn that I think Maddie is staying at Aunt Eloise's brownstone in New York City. But we just learned in the previous game, this game, we learned that Aunt Eloise is a librarian at a high school in Florida.
So how does she afford 2 homes, one of which is in New York City?
Like, what's going on here? What is this?
I guess by renting them out to movie stars. But...
maybe so. Yeah, maybe it's just like a family property that she inherited. Because the Drews have generational wealth. They do.
Yes.
So maybe it's just she has it and she doesn't like living there, and so she rents it out or something. But I love thinking about Aunt Eloise.
Yeah.
I bet she's this beautiful, like, middle-aged woman, like, just with, like, just works for herself, pleases herself, loves her niece, like, is a librarian.
Aww,
I want to be Aunt Eloise. I mean, I don't want to live in Florida, but...
well, yeah, sure.
You know.
If we weren't so allergic to, like, showing Nancy and her family, I would have loved to have Aunt Eloise just in the game in the library. Just have her at the information desk in the library, and then we can go up and ask her for help, or, like, can you help me find this book, or I need one on Braille, and, like, you know, and then she can kind of point us around the school a little bit more. Yeah. That would have been a fun in-game addition.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, but you can call her in the game.
Can you?
But you call the number on the phone card and you'll get her voicemail.
Is it her voicemail? I thought it was just like the operator.
No, it's "You've reached Eloise Drew." Yeah.
Oh, it says that?
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to find it again, but yeah, I watched Michael do it.
Oh, because I called it 3 different times, and every time it was just, there was no, like, it was just, there's a red light, and the light means that it's on. Yeah. But
no,
that
but
is her?
It's her, because it's her, like, not understanding how the answering machine works.
Okay.
But yeah, no, she sounds so much like Prudence Rutherford.
She does.
Later.
I bet it's the same voice actress.
I bet. Well, is that not Lonnie Manila who does that?
I don't know, actually. I know that Lonnie does Bess and George in this game, actually.
Yes, she does. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. If you want to, I don't know if you want to look it up or not, but yeah, in Arglefump's playthrough, at the very last one, he has just a 2-minute video on, like, the Easter eggs in the game where he calls all of the numbers.
Oh, okay.
And you can listen to it there. But yeah. It is Aunt Eloise's
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'll go watch that later.
Which is funny. It's very cute. Let's see. I think the only other thing that I thought was really funny about this. Oh, no, sorry, there is something else I want to talk about. Whenever we pick up the tape in the vent when we're escaping the boiler room, I don't know why, but this reminds me so much of Barbie Detective Carnival Caper, where the suspect or the dark shadowy figure or whatever drops the VHS tape and you have to take it and go watch it. I don't know why, but I just thought about that every single time. I was like,
this was clearly inspired from that.
Barbie Detective. Obviously.
How could it not be? Yes.
But so the last thing I wanted to talk about was at the end. So at the end, we get our teaser for the next game, which is the setup for Stay Tuned for Danger, where Nancy says Anna Louise gets a letter from someone talking about death threats on a TV show. But whenever she's saying that, we get like the image on the screen of this like sign that says Detective Beach, a new TV series this season from Paseo del Mar Studios, which I don't know if that was like an earlier like idea for what they were going to do for Stay Tuned for Danger or something, because they don't mention New York or anything. So maybe they were going to have it also set in Florida. Like
I really think that this was just like an inside joke with Her Interactive. I don't think that it was supposed to be anything related to Stay Tuned for Danger, because they had already decided to base it on that book.
You would think.
By this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really think that this was just like a joke of one of those like popular type of TV show at the time. And they're just making a joke about how
Nancy being a detective at the beach, Detective Beach.
Yeah.
Is it like
But then
is it a play on like beach and bitch? Is it supposed to be like?
Yeah.
That's kind of horrible.
Yeah. But then of course we do call back to that in the remastered version.
We do?
The new character's name is Detective Beach.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. I want to know the backstory there. I want to know what that is about.
I'll try to see if I can find more information, because it's such a distinct thing. I really don't think that it's them trying to tease for a future game or anything like that. I think it really was just they thought it was funny, so they included it.
So weird. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Her Interactive love their pop culture, so...
If anybody has any more information about what that is supposed to mean, please message us on Instagram, because I want to know. Or email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com. But
yes, please tell us.
Yeah, that confused me a lot. I was like, what is that? I don't get it. I don't understand this joke. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Well, I've got Mildred's article pulled up here. Should we read it?
Let's read it. Yes.
Okay. It's not super long, but back in, I guess, 1998, Mildred Wart Benson, who of course was the original ghost author for the Nancy Drew series, she was working at the Toledo Blade newspaper at the time, and this is the article that she wrote as a review of Secrets Can Kill. The title is Computer Game Lets Girls Play at Being Nancy Drew. And the article says, computerization, it seems, has taken over the modern world, leaving me far behind. Aww. For a time, I worked out on a simple treadmill with only a couple buttons needed to set it in motion. Then a sophisticated machine was substituted, one that requires more know-how and information to stir action. How old are you? It asked me the other day. I don't mind telling it my weight, but it was going a bit too far in wanting to record my age, I thought. So I programmed 1000, an answer that kept the inquisitive machine quiet for 20 minutes of operation. It's somewhat the same way with computer games. Children, I am aware, are real whizzes at them and at solving intricate mental puzzles, learning as they play. Until the other day, I had never even thought of trying out any of these advanced forms of entertainment. The challenge came when the producer of Nancy Drew, Secrets Can Kill, said to be one of the first exclusively girls' computer mystery games on the market, sent me the CD-ROM game to try out. And then editor's note, Miss Benson wrote several of the original Nancy Drew mysteries under the pen name Carolyn Keene. Then it goes back to Mildred's writing here. Designed for girls ages 11 and up, it features the well-known fictional teen detective Nancy Drew and is offered at 3 levels of difficulty. I selected the lowest level, telling myself that if 11-year-olds and Nancy Drew could do it, I should have little trouble. My computer was compatible with the CD-ROM, but to assure correct installation, I called upon a member of the younger set. Kids can do this in a split second, the helper assured me. The installation was made, and the young mystery sleuth came to life. I was told of many of the clues to be provided, and if I demonstrated the skill of a pre-teenager, the puzzle would be solved. Time precluded me from testing my skill to any great extent, but I was impressed by the scope and design of the game. Megan Geiser, president of herinteractive.com, developer of the game, told me that before Secrets Can Kill was produced, large numbers of girls were interviewed to find out what they wanted in a mystery game. Guided by their suggestions, the company turned out a game with hundreds of graphics in which little girls could visualize themselves as Nancy Drew, piecing together clues to solve an exciting mystery. Most pleasing to me was that the game retained the flavor of the early Nancy Drew books of years ago and used care in developing scenes and characters. Oh, Mildred.
So sweet.
The game is not sold in stores, but can be ordered for $40 plus a $7 shipping charge exclusively through the company's website, heronline.com, or its toll-free number, and then it gives the phone number there. Herinteractive.com has produced 2 other titles especially for girls, Mackenzie & Co. and The Vampire Diaries, based on the popular teen romantic thrillers written by Lisa J. Smith. A second Nancy Drew game, Stay Tuned for Danger, is now in development. Grandparents, we think, might like to catch up on computer games by reviewing Secrets Can Kill before passing it on to their granddaughters, who should improve their computer technology as they play the role of the sleuth.
Oh,
Mildred!
This is so cool. So sweet. What a lovely lady.
What a wonderful... I mean, just like, how insane. She was born in 1905, wrote the first, 26 of the first 30 Nancy Drew books. What was the actual number? 23?
22.
So she wrote 22 of the original 30, or the first 30 Nancy Drew books, and then lives long enough to see that not only lives long enough to see computers invented, but then be adapted into the game series.
It is 23, because she also wrote 30. I wasn't counting 30.
Oh, okay. Yes. 23 of the first 30.
Yeah.
And then would go on to write the first review of the game that was inspired by her original writing.
That's crazy.
This franchise was how old at this point in 98? 68 years old?
Yeah.
And to have the original author be able to review it in her column, just amazing.
That's so
cool.
So wild.
Mm-hmm.
So meta.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I can't even imagine what that experience must have been like for Mildred to see her character become so famous and so beloved that it's adapted that many times.
It must be so weird. Such a weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But sounds like she liked it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on there.
That is Secrets Can Kill, the very first Nancy Drew PC game. Yeah, great fun.
How do we rate it?
Oh, I don't know why I'm always surprised when this happens. I think I came up with this idea of a rating. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is gonna sound bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. Like, I want to say 2. 2, but not because I think it's not a good game, but I don't think it's bad.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. I don't know how to describe this. Like, I think I can see what it is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I can see what it becomes, of course. Right. And so for that reason, I really appreciate it and like it, and it's important. And like, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't have the rest of them. And if it isn't what it is, we wouldn't have the rest of them.
Right.
But it's not a good game. So,
yeah.
2.
It's really not.
You know? I don't know.
It's so hard. Again, I do think it deserves a little bit of a handicap just because, like, it's not its fault that it's so early and so technologically bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first game had to be what it is anyway, in order, like you said, in order for the rest of the series to be what it was. But ultimately, it's not the most fun game. It's something that I've replayed maybe 3 times in total. It's not something that I automatically reach for because it's ultimately just not as fun as the rest of the series. Yeah. But I do really like what a great adaptation. Yeah. What a great adaptation it tried to be from the book. I'm going to give it a 3, I think. Just because of that. I think that it deserves just like that little extra boost. Maybe just give it one extra flashlight that maybe it didn't earn just on its own, but just by nature of what it did for the rest of the series. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if I'm grading on a handicap, like if I'm looking at this game as if no other video games ever existed, then I would give it a 4, you know?
Okay.
But of course, because it's not the only video game that exists,
right?
It's a 2. But so yeah, maybe 3 is a good happy middle because of it's an old game, guys. It's an old game, you know.
Yeah.
What can we do, you know? So
yeah. No
Okay.
blueberry eyes in this one.
No,
so.
Miss Daryl's blueberry eyes. Oh my god.
Yes.
Wow.
But so fun that we finally got to go back and do this game. I'm so glad.
I know. A very important game. A very momentous
Influential.
occasion. Yes. Very important. But we will be moving on because this is the last little episode in our series here. So we're going to be moving on to a different topic. And I think many of you will be very excited to hear that we are going back to the original mystery stories for a few episodes here. And our lovely patrons voted on our next topic. And that is going to be the sign of the twisted candles, which is number 9.
Yes.
So we're very excited for that. We will be reading both the original text and the revised text.
Yes.
So that'll be really exciting to be able to compare and contrast those. I don't feel like I remember anything about what Sign of the Twisted Candles is about. So
me neither.
Going in blind.
Yeah.
But I have heard that people really enjoy this one. So I'm excited to read it.
I'm so excited. It's supposed to be a little bit spookier, perhaps, as well, which is exciting. So really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully transition out of this hot summer into a cool fall. Maybe if we think about the state of mind, it'll bring us there.
Yes. All the spooks. I love it.
Yep. So join us next time, Regular Drews, when we will be talking about that. And we'll see you then.
Yep. See you then.
Thank you for listening to Regular Nancy Drew. Email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com.
If you like this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Regular Nancy Drew and Twitter at RegularND.
You can also support us on Patreon. Patrons at the $3 level vote on upcoming episode topics and get exclusive access to our Scoop Sesh series.
And all patrons receive early access to each episode as well as weekly bonus content.
And to all you Regular Drews out there, thanks for listening.